I was an orphan, and my mother took me from her family to an orphanage, and I remember my days in the Children's Home Society in Los Angeles as a small child growing up in an orphanage. I was the only Japanese American in the orphanage, so I really didn't know that I was different than the other children. It wasn't until we got evacuated that I suddenly discovered that, lo and behold, for some reason I was different. And I can relay the bus ride from the Children's Home Village to the Shonin, which was a Japanese orphanage, and sitting outside waiting in the morning to board the buses to ultimately drive to Manzanar. I can recall being scared and frightened because I was with a large group of people that I had no acquaintance with. I can remember sitting on the bus but feeling quite lonely, in fact, alone, because at this point I had been deposited on a grassy area where we sat and waited for the bus to take us. And then we got on board the bus, and I knew nobody. And I remember just hearing the kids all ask when we were going to be there. And it was always just a little while. And so it was a long time. And it was hot. And they couldn't keep us entertained. But we finally made it. And I remember driving up to the gates and seeing the guard tower and the barbed wire fence. And this blew my mind, so to speak, to think that we were going to be behind those wires. And I just figured that's what was going to happen to us. We, as small kids, were faced with the American patriotism, which we were brought up, in camp. We were taught the Pledge of Allegiance, and it was about that time, shortly after arriving there, that I realized that I was there because I was part Japanese. If you see any pictures of me, I'm always quite a bit taller. So I stuck out. My friends tell me that I was a towhead. I can't remember that, but they tell me that I had much lighter hair. Now, tallness and different color hair are two distinguishing factors, right? And so when you are different, you're going to receive the taunts and the teasing of your peers. Now, there was another significant fact, and that is that I had the name Tojo. And Tojo was a warlord of Japan and was ridiculed by the Japanese in camp because we were all loyal to the U.S. So now you have light-headed, extra tall, and a tojo. You don't need any more. When I got out, I got to have the privilege of the racial taunts because I was in third grade and I was known as the Yellow Jap by other students, and I understand how immigrants feel who have to go through the similar type thing.